Hey there, it's Nacho here, and this is the Agentic Project, the podcast where Dani, my co host, and I bring you the minds building the future of agentic AI. Whether if you're a tech aficionado, an AI enthusiast, or an aspiring entrepreneur, this is your front row seat to get all the tips and tricks to stay ahead of the curve. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Today, we're thrilled to have Mert Davici, the mind behind Godmode, a platform building AI coworkers that help sales teams with prospecting and outbound. With this diverse background in finance and tech, Mert, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Welcome.
Good to be here, guys. Nice meeting you.
Thank you for coming.
No problem. Thanks for calling me in.
All right, so we like to get started with getting to know the guest, getting to know you, Mert. What's your background? How did you get started? Yeah, give us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Mert. I'm the founder of Godmode, which is, just as you said, a startup in agentic workspaces for sales. We focus on enterprise B2B salespeople, and there is basically one purpose of the tool or one question that we try to answer. Who are you reaching out to tomorrow to maximize conversions and reply rates, right? So that's the whole purpose of the tool in a simple way, because we believe that like sales landscape has just unnecessarily expanded too much and has become uncomplicated for salespeople, account executives, STRs, and CROs. And we just want to bring it back to the level where you just try to solve the problems of your customer and nothing else. And AI really helps with understanding the problems and then coming up with the solutions. My background is from finance. So I used to be in banking, particularly investment banking. And all I did every day was reach out to executives, create presentations, models, do analysis, and each outreach had to be personal because these guys were like creme de la creme of their companies, if you will. And it didn't just suffice to reach out to them, like a templated way saying, hey, Nacho, hey, Dani, and then the rest of the message is the same. You just had to really dig into the company, understanding the opportunities, their business models, and so on. But it took a lot of time to do. So you could only do like a couple companies over a day, perhaps. And now with AI, you can do 200 with our tool on a day.
So I've used God mode, and I totally relate with what you're saying. I've been an SDR myself, exactly as you were replicating that you were used to be doing that. You've been in Morgan Stanley. You've been in Franklin Templeton. Is that correct? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
And
that's true.
then you perfect. And then you switched to starting this on your own. Tell us a little bit of how did that switch go of going from investment banking in such big corporations to decide to do something like such within such a niche within sales, which is sales outreach and outbound. How did that happen?
Yeah, for sure. So when you're in finance, I think there are two things that happen. One, in the first years when you start to work in finance, you learn a lot. Like the saying, you either learn or you earn. Like that's what they say about what you should do when you're young. So I feel like a lot of young people, which like I was one of them, go into finance to earn, right? And then you see tech, and tech people earn more. But in finance, on the other hand, there happens as something unexpected, so to speak, where you learn a lot about companies, how they are constructed, how they are composed, how they actually make money, what the executives think about, right? But if you want to become an entrepreneur, which I always wanted to do, you don't actually learn anything about company building, getting your hands dirty, and just like going into the product, building a product, talking to customers, and so on, right? The only people that do that is basically the salespeople who do outreach and so on. And I just felt like in finance, after spending like more than several years, I sort of like hit the ceiling, if you will, of the things that I wanted to learn over there. And I just wanted to get my hands dirty in building a product and really going into it, right? While I was looking at like opportunities, so to speak, in 2022, I sort of like came across early access from friends and so on into GPT series, right? And when
Mhm.
I saw that, Like it was magical, nothing like I have seen before, because as salespeople as well as in finance, all you do every single day is actually words. You write words, you send words, you read words, just like a classic knowledge worker. But that's the whole output. And this thing was already doing it. It wasn't quite as good, but like I just wanted to take a bet on that and go all in that like this thing is going to get quite powerful. And since then, it has. Like when we first launched our tool, the email sucked, the research sucked, everything was bad. The feedback was, this is not as good and so on. And now it's cheaper, much stronger, much powerful with much more flexibility.
So you're mentioning like you have like a strong background in finance, and I guess you don't have that much tech product skills, right? So I guess you have other co-founders with you, or how does it work?
Well, how it happened is basically, so I did some coding while I was in college, but I didn't study computer science. So when I left my job in finance, I just took like around 6 to 9 months and then sat down in front of a computer, opened YouTube, found an Indian HTML, CSS, JavaScript influencer, a teacher, and just like watched 48 hours of like videos after video, just trying to learn JavaScript, React, Next.js, and so on, right? And like after, 5 to 6 months coding like simple little projects, talking to customers at the same time, I was actually quite sort of like enough, so to speak. I wouldn't say I'm the best or I really learned quickly or anything, but I was good enough to build my own products. So I started building my own products, and that's how I founded the company. And after a while, once we started fundraising and so on, I brought in a co-founder who is much better than me, particularly in backend, as a technical co-founder, so that I can sort of delegate it and then just focus on customers, product, and the design, which is still the things that I do today, along with AI engineering. But yeah, in short, I had to learn it by myself, but I'm not the best on it.
And I can totally relate to you because I was working as a product manager, and I saw all these developers working with React and Node. So I did the same. I started taking Udemy courses on React, Node, and Next.js. And the thing is that nowadays with AI, like the learning curve is so steep. Like you can get to know like frameworks like quite easily, right? Like any doubt you have, you ask the AI, and you can progress as much faster than way before. So talking
Yeah.
about the tech stack, what was your initial stack when you were building the first prototypes or the first versions of the product? And which is
Yeah.
the
So
current stack right now?
Yeah. So what I started out with was something interesting, actually. For educational purposes and simple projects, I started with React Native instead of just web development with React, right? So I started out coding some like mobile apps, also publishing them on the web with React Native, because I figured, hey, like if you want to do something, it's got to be on mobile. But that was more difficult to learn, but also more educational in the way that if you learn React Native, you kind of like learn React and Next.js simultaneously, because it's actually a lot smoother to code in Next.js, right? So I did that. Then I went back to backend, and then I started coding in, Fast API, dabbled a little bit in Django, although, I'm not quite as good at Django because it's much more complex. And that's how it came to be, basically. Today, we still run on the same tech stack, if you will. So backend runs on Python, Django, frontend runs on Next.js and TypeScript.
Cool.
Are you currently using any of the AI agents that you're running? Do you work with any of the actual agentic frameworks such as LangChain or AutoGen or any of those?
Yeah, we do. We are actually very fond of and good. They're also a customer as well as a good partner for us, which is called GripTape, is what we
Mm.
use. So they are XAWS. They focus on enterprises and reliable agentic output, most of it all. But as with everyone, we started with LangChain, experimented with AutoGen, looked into Crew AI, etc. And here's the thing, and I'm a strong proponent of this, like we just hated it, like we just didn't like using it. It was big, the community is huge, and they are like the first entrant as LangChain, but the engineering efforts were mostly focused on prompting rather than writing code. And as engineers or people who write code and want to do sort of like reliable things, because, code is science and science is supposed to give you reliable, real outputs where, you code something and the output is always going to be the same with small differences. But by nature with AI, each and every output is unique. Each one of them is unreliable, so to speak, right? So as to what once you do it, and to make it reliable, you had to change your prompts, put smiley faces, say like tell AI that, hey, you are gonna die if you don't do this, something like that, like these prompting tricks, right? And the team, including myself, we just hated it. So we started looking for a framework where like the tagline just had to be, instead of prompting LLMs, code LLMs, right? Something like that. So that's when we stumbled upon GripTape, and the framework has evolved since then a lot. But it basically allows you to set up pipelines and workflows task by task, step by step, by structured outputs or not, and also connect those LLMs as well as the agents to outside tools like web search, web scraping, lead searching, CRMs, email sending, calendars, and everything, right? And that's what we use. It's open source, but we do incorporate and support the framework by connecting and publishing external connectors so that they can connect the framework. Anyone can connect the framework to tools like Gmail and web search.
Cool. Actually, now you were mentioning about reliability. Before the call, I was checking a bit some of your posts on LinkedIn, and there was one that caught me your attention. But basically, you were saying in Silicon Valley, like they are very hyped about agents, right? They are pushing agents from a marketing perspective a lot. But when talking to customers, they are more concerned about reliability, right? So it seems that the tech world is looking to provide a 100% automated solution, but on the other side you have the market that maybe they don't want this 100% automated solution, right? Maybe they want this 90% automated, last 10% to be checked by customers. Just I don't know if you want to elaborate further on that, because I think it's a very interesting point.
Yeah. I mean, the way that we found talking to customers a lot is we believe there are basically like as a B2B SaaS or like an AI solution, you can find product market fit by doing either of two things. One is building a solution where the output of the solution or the return on investment from the perspective of the customer is like crystal clear, right? So I'll give you an example. Wanta. Like, why do you buy Wanta? Because you want to get SOC2 type compliance, and that's what it will give you, right? The rest is basically details or jibber jabber as to how they're gonna price it, etc. You buy Wanta because you're gonna get SOC2 type compliance. That's it, right? So that's the category that we are in. The second category, which is in my perspective much harder, is productivity solutions for humans. So like Notion, right? Or, if you want to exemplify AI, like Harvey.ai, which is like a legal solution, but it's mostly a productivity workspace for lawyers, right? So when you think about these things, none of them actually, like the first point is basically like a service that gives you an end output, right? And the second one is a productivity solution with AI, but humans are in the driving seat, right? So I have not seen a solution like that fits into a very different category other than this. And that is the VCs or Silicon Valley fetish, if you will, where, you must be hearing this a lot from early stage startups where, and like, I've got this tool that does marketing in the background while you sleep, right? Like this is the usual founder tagline for each and every tool, like something that works while you sleep, right? So, and it sounds good, it sounds magical and so on, but when you actually go in and talk to customers and then sell them something that achieves something, that's not what they want. If they want a workspace where they can leverage AI, they want something like Notion, like really easy to use, or Harvey, but AI is incorporated from the start, but they are still in the driving seat. AI just makes them better. Like think about Cursor, like from a software engineer standpoint, right? Yes, it has agentic mode now, but the way that it has grown so much is because it just forked VS Code and then put the chat on the right hand side. And when you wrote something in the chat, it applied it to the editor and it worked really well. The interactions were really smooth, right? That's it. And VS Code never did that, but that was it. On the other hand, where we are, just like Wenta, you have a task to complete. In one task case, it's SOC2 type compliance. In our case, it's basically doing research, reaching out to leads, and generating pipeline on autopilot every single day. The customers don't just want to write on chat saying that, hey, here's my company, here's my ideal customer profile, go fetch and do whatever you want, because they don't know what you are going to do, right? It's not so much about the risk that they are taking, it's so much about the unnecessary mystery of this whole thing, right? Like what is going to happen, they want to understand. So what we ended up doing is, for that we adopted Griptape for reliable workflows, and we designed an interface where everything is step by step. Hey, here's the ICP, put that in, and then click into continue, right? Here's the research, click continue, and then here's the outreach, click continue, and then these messages are going to be sent. And the customer knows that this is the process, but using AI, each one of those leads will receive a unique research as well as a unique outreach. So that's the risky part, or the AI magic part of it. But once they activate this, it just runs on autopilot, in short, right? So they don't have to worry about it. But like the usual promise of the startups is that I have a sales and marketing AI. You just tell me your company's domain, website, and your information, and then you just go away, and then this thing is going to work while you sleep. But like, what does that mean? Like, what is it going to do? Is it going to organize a webinar? Is it going to send an email? Like, people want to know that, right? People actually want to know that. It sounds magical from VCs, but that's the way that customers work, I think.
Yeah.
See, I love the approach. I love the approach where you like focus on wanting to make sure that you're selling something that like the end user wants, rather than something that the VC want. We saw a little bit of that in Web3 back in 2021, 2022 with all that wave. I don't want to get into that topic. I think the three of us have something in common with Web3, or maybe I'm yeah, right. I don't know, what's your background there in 2 cents.
When we first started, it was on Web3. We were using the same technology that we use today, right? And we were basically selling to gaming studios in Web3 to match B2C customers, B2C users to wallet addresses. And now we use that same thing in B2B, honestly. So like that's the same thing that we had to pivot. Well, our story in Web3 is it was short in the way that, like, we felt that this kind of data would be really useful for game studios, and it was. We grew the MRR and so on, but none of our customers themselves, the game studios in Web3, were successful in themselves. Like, their retention was bad, they weren't acquiring users. When the market crashed, they weren't able to raise funding. And that was the core reason that we made a pivot, right? Because if our customers are not successful by themselves, even if we build a great product, we cannot grow as long as they don't grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have seen that actually. What we were also in the blockchain space, gaming space, and yeah, at some point you feel that, man, no one is making money here. You have all these games asking for grants to the blockchains just to build their game on the blockchain, which is like a very weird business model, right, from a blockchain perspective. But yeah, actually, I was wondering. I had a question regarding this step that you were mentioning, right, of finding the leads and qualifying the leads for your customer. Like, how is the agent or the part of the process? What does it consider to qualify a lead as a good lead or as a bad lead? How does this work?
Yeah. So there are two ways that we qualify leads. One is basically like we have this feature called forms, which is like classic forms, right? For inbound. Like you must be using like Typeform or Tally or something like that, classic stuff, right? What we only did over there is we built a form infrastructure, but once a lead comes in and then submits a result, submits a submission, those submissions can be run through and analyzed using AI. So you can link prompts directly to the results of the submission. So you can set up your own custom qualification process in a way. You can say that, hey, here's the website that came in. Based on this website, just understand how many people work at this company, if they have enterprise customers, and how much their pricing is. And if the pricing is more than $5,000 per month, qualify them and then write them an email and then say, hey, we want to meet. If not, send them just a simple thank you sort of an email, right? So like it becomes qualified in that way. That's the inbound part that we recently developed and pushed into Godmode. The outbound part is where it's a little bit more complicated and honestly a little bit more risky. So what we see in outbound is a lot of startups and a lot of players. Outbound is competitive and crowded by nature, and it gets more and more crowded by that way too. But the way that market has developed is people are tricking each other in that, like, hey, let me look into this signal, or let me look into this kind of like, hey, oh, Nacho is a fan of Barcelona and I'm a fan of Barcelona, or I am a fan of Real Madrid, so I'm going to tell him, hey, we are rivals, and that's the email, right? And like some of these things work, but they're like tricks. They're like street tricks that work sometimes, that doesn't work sometimes. And we believe that that wasn't the way to go, because essentially what you are trying to solve by outbound is understand the customer's pain points or develop a hypothesis around it, right? So, example, if someone is hiring an SDR, they want to push on sales, or they already have sales and they just want to bring in someone to deal with that. So, that might be a pain point, right? If someone is literally saying on LinkedIn that, hey, like we are looking for an AI agent framework because LangChain sucks, then GripTape should know about this, right? So that's the pain point. Like no tricks involved, no nothing involved. That's the pain point. And then based on this pain point, can we create relevance to your value proposition? So we gotta know your company. In your case, for example, FlowHub, we gotta know the value props, what people use you guys for, right? So then the AI comes into the play where it finds the signal and the data by scouring the web using subtasks and mini agents. That's what we call them. Social media looks into employees' profiles and then summarizes the information. And based on that summary, it creates a relevance or a linkage into your value proposition. So can FlowHub basically help this particular company because there is a hiring for an AI engineer? So instead of hiring this guy, they could buy you guys or adopt your services to develop an internal AI agent, right? So that's where the AI agent part comes into play, and qualifying and disqualifying, because if there is nothing on that company or no news or no hiring or nothing relevant, we got to disqualify them. It's better than just emailing them out of the blue saying, hey, I know that you are a fan of Manchester United or something, and we want to talk. Like
Yeah.
that's just spam.
Okay, so you're actively looking for a pain point, right? Scraping the web. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, at some point you mentioned like in terms of outbound, but I was wondering, well, competition in your sector, right? Like nowadays there are plenty of AI SDR tools. It seems that the market is getting overcrowded. How do you plan to differentiate from them, or how do you plan to establish a competitive advantage in such a crowded market?
Yeah. So since day one, what we try to do is develop a strong value proposition and a key feature in one place. And that key feature for us is research. So when you look at other AI SDRs, it's basically an AI product that you set up, but essentially how it works is it's a pipeline generation tool in the way that you do mass email, right? So they fetch leads just like we do, right? They enrich them, they write outreach, and then they send it. So example, look at 11x, look at AISDR, look at Artisan. They all have one feature in common, which is deliverability. And why? Because they are meant to, and they do set up deliverability features to send thousands of emails every single day, right? We don't do that, right? So like we focus on the research part to basically understand and qualify a customer in the best way possible to write the most specific email that an account executive would write, and then send it if the account executive or the SDR approves. So, like to give you a sense of it, we send a maximum of 50 emails per day, but our reply rates are a lot more higher than the industry averages or those players, right? Because we believe that's a losing game. Like you just like send more and more. Google makes your life harder. Your reply rates drop. You cannot do research at that scale because it would cost you a lot of money to research like 1,000 leads per day per inbox. Basically, it's just too much. And even if you do, like, how many people need an outreach tool, or how many people need your solution every single day or every single month? It's not 1,000 people that like have signals, right? It's usually like 10 to 50 people over a month. The challenge is finding them, basically, and that's where the research comes into play, and we have the most advanced engine to do that. But the vision of the company and where we are going is going end to end. So we started with outbound, then we deployed inbound, and now we are deploying the inbox to basically so that you can reply back to your LinkedIn messages, you can reply back to your emails, right? And now we deployed contacts as well to import CRM like features. But just like that influencer who did that, where he downloaded all of his emails and all of his contacts and downloaded and exported them from HubSpot, and then just dropped them into Gemini in Google, and started asking questions, and he built a CRM out of it, right? No code, no tables, no nothing. And that's what we did basically with our latest release, where we import your LinkedIn connections, we import your Gmail, like all your contacts and your emails and calendar, and you just ask questions. So basically, it's a different CRM experience.
Okay.
That's super powerful. I've been, as I told you, when I was an SDR, account executive, whatever, I was kind of a full cycle. I was using Sales Navigator. I was using DAX back in the day. That was what, 3-4 years ago. Sketch experience, I would say. Every day I would go to the office, open my LinkedIn, crossing my fingers that it wasn't banned. And that's actually a topic that I wanted to ask today. I was using Godmode earlier today to test it. I did a basic kind of research. I was, by the way, impressed by the quality of the emails that are being sent. It's like literally 4 lines, really short, really straight to the point, with the structures that we were always taught to kind of send the messages. But then I actually sent an email to one of your colleagues that I have already talked to, Hussein. I don't know how you pronounce that, asking of what are the chances of being blocked or banned by LinkedIn. I wanted to get into that topic because I feel like it's every SDR's kind of nightmare when using one of these tools.
Yeah, no, that's fair for sure. So, like with LinkedIn, connecting and sending emails and data scraping and so on, there was a sort of a trial 4 to 5 years back, basically in Europe, in Sweden, where like to find LinkedIn data and let the outside users use LinkedIn other than somewhere in LinkedIn, it was legalized by the EU courts. So basically, LinkedIn sued this company saying, hey, you are scraping our data, even though profiles are public and we don't provide APIs for it, so it's illegal. But the EU said, as long as the profile is public and not private, it's legal. But LinkedIn, it was never obliged to develop an API for it, so they never did, right? So we spent a lot of time and effort along with some partners to build that connection, right? But as you said, with SDRs and with anyone really who connects their LinkedIn, it's a concern to get banned or something like that. So we have really technical guidelines on how to ensure not to do it. And we never had one single user have banned or have limited or have problems or shadow banned so far, along with running around 1,000 profiles simultaneously on LinkedIn, right? The way that we do it is highly complex, like using different servers and so on. But we send 25 LinkedIn invites and 25 LinkedIn messages every single day at a maximum. And legally speaking, from LinkedIn's perspective, you can send around 40 to 50 without Sales Navigator. With Sales Navigator, it's even more, but like we want to just limit that, right? A lot of other tools usually like don't limit you and just you send hundreds of them at the same time. Two, you have an extension in your browser usually to sort of like enable those tools and gotta like open your browser open, leave your browser open so that they run. We don't require an extension. So we just use servers. You just log in through our tool and we can do any kind of operation from somewhere else basically. And that's how we enable that.
That's okay. Yeah, fair enough. I did get the message back from Hussein, and he came to say something similar to this. And so I got a little more relaxed. But I just wanted to make sure, because for anyone that is listening, that is an SDR themselves or thinking of using Godmode, I think it's pretty good to know that this is the approach you're taking. And also regarding something you were mentioning earlier, I don't know if you already launched the inbox or you're planning on launching the inbox.
We actually launched it today. So
amazing. Congrats. I'll have a look at that later. And you were also referencing that you could like download contacts and everything and act as like some sort of CRM. Is that your goal? Is that your next stage where you want to go to turn Godmode into a CRM? Or what are the plans for the, I guess, 2025?
Yeah, it's a work in progress. The reason being that like we don't want to say that, hey, like this is a CRM or an AI native CRM or something like that. Just because, you know, in a way, when you say CRM, like the world stops, right? Everyone uses HubSpot, everyone uses Salesforce, and so on. So we didn't make up a word for it just yet. But what we are trying to essentially build here is like a form of intelligence, so to speak, in a way, like where the tool itself can answer one single question for you in a really structured and good way, which is that, hey, who can I sell to you when I wake up tomorrow? So basically systematize, task you, and give you the most available and ideal leads for you to reach out or speak to close a deal tomorrow. Right. That's not quite a CRM, because when you think about HubSpot CRM or Salesforce CRM, we think they are like cemeteries. Like everyone connects their sales loft outreach tools or like DocSoup, etc., into Salesforce and HubSpot, and then leads go over there, but no one checks them. Nothing happens. It's just a database, and it's like a cemetery. Like they're just dead. So like they're gonna put them here, and they're gonna live here, but there is no engagement. Right. So they keep making money because it's a database. On the other hand, you never use them. You want to have that information, but give you specific tasks and insights so that you can make use of that information to action on them. So like Nacho just launched a new company, go talk to him. Right. Dani just raised funding, go talk to him, and here's an email that you can send to him. Right. So like you have a meeting in 3 hours with Dani, and here are the tools that they interviewed before. So you should know this. No action required, but you should know this, right? And those sort of things can basically live on with you, and you have your sales workspace for enterprise sales.
Okay, that's honestly, I could be speaking for hours about sales and tools and so on. So, Dani, I don't know if you want to add something else on this topic before we switch to the next one.
Well, actually, I just have one question, and I'm very curious about it because it's one question that we also get when we try to approach customers, right? And we are selling as well AI solutions. And my question is, I've seen that you have like clients like Google, big clients. So have you ever sold to these clients using Godmode?
Yeah, all of them basically. Yeah, some of them come inbound, some of them come with introductions as well, right? But like a lot of them are, the first touch point is usually one of our associates reaching out, them replying, and then we just like try to build the relationship over time, because when you are doing enterprise sales, it's quite long and it's quite sort of like tiring, if you will, to sort of like improve that relationship, right? It doesn't happen like just like a startup would buy. Like you and I are talking right now, and I could tell you tomorrow that, hey, I'm going to be a customer of you guys, and that would be done. But with an enterprise, it's just a long way. But once you are inside, in terms of you get a reply and you have a communication or a meeting, the only play to go is just like, how can I bring that relationship forward and make a crystal clear and simple case of why they gotta buy Godmode.
Okay.
On that sense, and looking now at the perspective, maybe leaving sales a little bit more aside, and looking more at the perspective as yourself, as entrepreneur, yourself as founder of Godmode.
Yeah.
If someone out there is listening, they're working in financial banking, they're working in, I don't know, like Salesforce or larger corporations. What is your take on, based on your experience in Godmode? Would you, back in the day, would you go back and do what you're doing now of leaving the big corporate work to start something on your own? Is that stress that you kind of don't enjoy? Would, like, what would you say to someone that is sitting there, maybe considering that entrepreneurial path, having doubts? What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, that's a good question that usually no one asks, like to founders, right? So like that's a pretty good question in that way. I think if you, yeah, if you're working in a big enterprise, or if you are just working at a startup, whatever, but I always thought about being a founder, knowing what I know today, would I, if I were to go back in time, would I do it again? I think I would. I would do it again, but not because it's the right move to do, you know? Like it's the healthy thing or the good thing to do. So essentially, like I don't have an advice to people who are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or not, because it is just too painful, you know? It is
Mm.
just like 24/7 pain and suffering and blood, sweat, and tears, and the shame that comes with it when the product doesn't work, like all the things that go wrong, right? So knowing what I know, myself, I would launch Godmode again and again, but not because I know what to do, or I am a better person than anyone else, or I am just more brave or something, because I just need it. I just need it mentally. Like that's what I need. That's what I do. Like that's what I want to do, right? I sort of like enjoy the pain, if you will, in a way. But if you want to have a happy life, or have a sort of a more enjoyable experience with your time, no, like don't do entrepreneurship at all. If you're gonna do it in full, but that's going to be pretty painful.
So you're pretty much saying, I mean, which it's nothing new, no, but you're pretty much saying that there's no easy path through entrepreneurship,
No,
or
no,
to.
I don't think there's. I mean, there are levels to it, but the way that I'm talking about is really hardcore working and so on. If you want to launch a small business, or if you have a hobby, sure. Like but no one would think about that a second time. Like if you have a hobby that you know that you can make money, you don't need to think about it, worry about it, just launch it, right? So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'll take it. And on that line, are you guys backed by any investors or bigger VCs? Or how, like, what's your financial status as of now?
Yeah, yeah. So for sure. So like In 2023, in the beginning of 2023, we raised 2.6 million in seed round of financing. So we are backed by Bitcraft, Delphi, Accrued Capital, Paribu Ventures, and a couple more funds as well, and angels.
Okay, without losing track, because we're about to end, we like to do a round of kind of fun questions, not so formal, more casual about yourself.
Let's go for it. Best AI agent out there if you couldn't choose Godmode.
Like in the same industry or in general?
Whatever. The
Not
one that you like
necessarily.
the most.
I like Cursor's agents. Yeah, I would say Cursor. I like Lovable as well, but I like it's just too uncertain as to like what those kind of tools are going to do.
I use Lovable pretty much every day. it's a really nice one. Danny, you got it?
Yep.
Or you want me to?
Okay, I can go for it. Okay, is there anything you miss from your 9 to 5 job? Well, you were investment banker, so maybe it was more a 9 to 9 job or even more, but
No, I don't think I do. It was it was never 9 to 5 anyway. So it was even more like I was almost like working more than I am right now, probably, right?
okay.
Wow.
Yeah, but no, I don't think I do miss anything. I mean, I miss sometimes like all day, every day, you just judge companies, right? So like you're not a founder and you're just like going through like revenue growth is bad and EBITDA margins are low this quarter. So you guys did a shitty job, or going into the earnings releases and then asking hard questions to the CEOs, and you know nothing about company building and so on. So it's more comfortable in that way.
Nice. Okay, let's continue. Okay, on a personal level, like after finishing your day at working at Godmode, what do you do? How do you relax yourself, or any hobby you might have?
Yeah, I play snooker. I go to the gym and I play the guitar. Basically, that's really it. I used to play games, a lot of FIFA, PlayStation. It's been a while since I haven't done it like in more than a year or something. So I guess that's out of question. But yeah, that's what I do.
Do you have the guitar there?
Yeah, I'm not with me right now
Man,
because I'm
that would be nice to
yeah
to play it live.
yeah
Okay.
yeah no, I play a caster, so it's pretty cool.
Imagine that you have like 1 billion people listening to this podcast. Okay, so you have 1 minute for yourself to tell whatever you want. What would you do? 1 minute. Go for it.
Uh, let me think about it.
Your time.
Yeah. I guess I would say what's like we are taught from our childhoods that, and like if you have a nice family and so on, which not everyone has, but I did, that you gotta pursue happiness in life, right? So like that's what's important, that you become happy and so on. What I would say is the opposite of it, is that happiness is easy, but pursuit of unhappiness, that's what makes life worth living, I would argue. Because happiness is like like it's easy, everyone is happy at some point, and everyone is happy because they have tragedies, because they feel important. But there are bigger accomplishments that you can do with your life, and it never hurts to be more and more and more ambitious, with whatever you do in life, right? It's like a picture is happy, right? So with your family or girlfriend or whatever, but the video version, it doesn't look as happy as the picture. So like video is life, but the picture is what you call happiness, or the romanticized version of it. So in short, life is short, so do it all. Like, don't think about it.
I
All
love it.
right.
I love it.
All right.
Danny, we're gonna ask this question more often. It gets deep. It gets deep.
Yeah, good philosophical
Yeah.
question and answer. Man, I really like it. I've
Yeah,
never had
yeah.
I've never thought about it like life as one, the
Approach.
happiness as a picture. Really like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good approach.
So I don't know, Nacho, if you wanna add something else. Otherwise, we can leave
That's
it here
it.
with this amazing sentence of Mert.
Yeah, we can call it for today. It was an amazing time with you, Mert. Thank you so much. So
Thanks,
this
guys.
was your time with Mert Davici, founder of Mode. Where can people find you in case they want to reach out or ask whatever?
Yeah, they can always find me in our website. I'll reply to their demo requests one by one, godmodehq.com. They can go to LinkedIn. My profile is just Mert Dev, so DEV, MERTDEV. So if they search for it, it should come up. And yeah, that's it.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Th-
Dani, for being here. Thank you, Mert.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Matt.
guys, for
Take
the
care.
invitation. Nice
Bye.
chatting. Bye bye.